Yeah, I can see that stuff. Sure deal. Yeah. Yeah. It says playlists. Just right. Yeah. Okay, so I should be able to let all these people in. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Dan.
Oh, hi, John. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. You trying to emulate my beard?
Doing a good job, eh?
Yeah, striking.
Just thought I'd keep on seeing how far it goes.
Yeah. Don't trip
good.
over.
What a good collection of books.
Oh, that's just some of them.
I
You seem to have a jungle behind you.
do. I think there's no one else on. Edwin already knows. I'm actually on a canal boat at the moment.
Really?
Yeah. Not far off Pontefract.
Oh, right. Oh, well, that's still West Yorkshire Transport then.
Still certainly is. Don't think it falls under our remit, but it's a different route to try.
Mm.
For a couple of days. It's like a working holiday.
Yeah. It's good.
Hello, everyone. Really sorry about the technical difficulties. We are now streaming on YouTube, which was the problem, where we have to stream these meetings onto YouTube for transparency. So we are now live. I've emailed everyone to all the members of the district subcommittee. So I don't know, since we're behind time, whether we want to wait to see whether any more can join us. I haven't had any apologies, so I don't know how many people are.
Let's give it a minute, Ben. It's odd though. Usually in Calderdale, we get the meeting ready, and then they say everybody prep, countdown. We're going to go live. Just straighten yourself up, hide your glass of wine, whatever people might be doing. So who have we got, Ben, on the committee? Is it? We've had an email through from Jeff Wood as well.
Okay.
I presume there's a quorum for the meeting as well, Ben. I don't know what that is.
There is no quorum for this.
Oh, that's good.
These meetings.
Do we have any operators here or coming?
Yeah, Tom Bridge from First Group.
Oh,
hi
Tom.
Sam Windmill from Areva.
You've got Pete Myers from Northern.
Hi, Pete. I'm seeing the participants list now, and it's a lot longer than I thought it was. So that's good. Good to see you all. Right. So Ben, I'll just let you sort Jeff Wood out, and then we'll get started. We'll make up for lost time.
Right.
Hello.
Hi, Jeff.
Huh.
Hey, Myra.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
So
got
we have.
Um,
we did. Yes. And you've got some facial hair since the last time I saw you.
I do. A bit more than I had. I always had a few
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yeah. It's very distinguished.
Oh, thank you.
Sort of certain Viking look to you.
It is a bit like Ragnar Lothbrok off the TV show. Not quite the rippling muscles though to go with it.
You're steady on the violence.
Yeah, and I'm a vegetarian. I don't know if that was a very Viking thing. So anyway, right. Well, we are live on YouTube, and I was just giving Jeff time to get in before we got started. I can't see. I'm trying to switch my view so I can see more people at the same time. But hi everybody. Should we do a quick round of introductions just to start? I see at the top of the agenda it's open forum to take questions from members of the public. Ben, are there any of those just before
we haven't had any mail to it now.
All right, okay. I'll do a round of introduction. I'll try and pass it on to the next player. I'm Dan Sutherland. I'm a Calderdale councillor. I'm a member of the Transport Committee and the chair of the District Consultation Subcommittee. Welcome back, and apologies for the technical difficulties. As you'll see from the minutes, it's been about a year just short of a year since we actually got together as a committee for various reasons. So it's good to see you all again. I'll pass on to Ben.
Yes, I've not received any apologies. There are a few members not present. I don't know whether that's because of the technical difficulties. So again, very sorry about those. Then in terms of disclosures of pecuniary interest, that is for Transport Committee members only. So I'm not aware of any that need to be declared.
No.
There's no items on the agenda that are exempt. And then we've got two sets of minutes from the last meeting of the Calderdale DCSE, which is just short of a year ago, and the joint DCSE held in July of this year. If you're content to sort of approve those.
Okay. Do people have any thoughts or comments on the minutes? A few of the things picked up on the minutes are going to be coming up. If there isn't anything, I'll take those as a true and accurate record and sign them off.
Aye.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's seconded.
Yeah, I'll second it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. If everyone's in favour, I don't know quite how we do this, but otherwise, voice your dissent. All right, fantastic. Okay then. Probably best just to pick up introductions as we go around on the updates rather than doing it twice, really, for people just to say where they're from and what they're bringing to update to the meeting. So we have the chair's update on the information report. Edwin, are you going to take us through the information report, or is there anything you want to add to it? I'm just scrolling down. It's not the same as having a paper copy in front of you.
I think Edwin may be on mute.
Yes.
Yep.
I was just trying to unmute myself. I'm having a few technical issues here as well. I don't know, Ben, can you share the report up on the screen for us like we do on Teams, and we can go through it?
Okay.
Because I can't actually use Zoom and get it up on my screen at the same time in terms of the report at the moment. So that's the problem I've got. So I didn't know if it's able. Are you possible? Can you share that on the screen, Ben?
Yes, just 2 seconds.
All right. I'm multiple screening. It's impossible to live with one screen at the moment.
Yeah.
I find. Well, anyway, just to get us started, the top item on there was relating to Halifax bus station, which has had some. Here we go. Which has had some interest recently as it's progressed through stages, and it's good to see that it is continuing despite everything that's else that's happening at the moment, which we will get to.
And there's sorry, Chair. There's the short note about the changes to the bus station caused by COVID and sort of the demise of TJ Walsh in the next item there. I should be able to share some information post meeting. I've got some information sent to me by one of my colleagues about the bus station in terms of some artist impressions and things of how it could look now that planning permission's gone through. So we'll be able to share that post meeting. In terms of the bus station, it was just that we lost TJ Walsh, unfortunately. We've put some tenders out for replacement services, and we were able to implement those at the end of August. And I think the positive thing there has been the sort of bringing back in the link between Halifax and Keighley, the 502 bus service. And it's been running for about a month now. And as far as I know, we haven't had any negative feedback on it. So we get Arriva will be able to tell us more as they're the operator of that, but it seems to be going quite well as far as we understand. Okay. And should we move down onto the active travel thing in terms of the initiatives that were done in terms of the emergency active travel fund, and in terms of putting some things in around Halifax town centre in terms of providing wider pedestrian sort of footpaths and footways and just changing things there. So they were temporary things. So that's been in, and I think some of those have come out now.
Sorry, Chair, could I just drag us back to the bus station?
Just if we just let Edwin finish this section, we'll go back to the bus station and take questions.
Thank you.
There's only this section left to do.
Right.
So that was the emergency active travel fund. I think as a region, and John might be able to help me out here in terms of John Lewis, we have applied for additional funding. There's a second tranche of funding, but the DfT haven't released that second tranche of funding yet, so we're still waiting to hear back on that. And that's for principally around walking and cycling improvements there.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so there's some of the key highlights in that report. And Chair, if you want to go back to the bus station, if we're okay with the report.
Absolutely, thank you for that. Jeff, do you want to come in with your question on the bus station?
First of all, I just wanted to say I was pleased to see the green roof, which I think improves it, and the design seems to have generally improved. I was wondering whether we could actually explore the opportunity to interpret the site, because obviously, whilst it's been a bus station for a considerable time, the site does have heritage value, and one of the things that we do within the public realm is, generally speaking, it'd be great to be able to tell the story of what is what's been there in the past, science school, and enable people to understand the history of place. I noticed. Well, I know from experience that when we create buildings for wealthy and privileged people, we make them very beautiful. When we create buildings for people who are less well off, they tend to be somewhat more utilitarian. And so I'm very keen that we try and make the bus station both as beautiful and as interesting as possible for end users.
Thank you, Jeff. I have asked that Edwin, as he mentioned, could share around some of the latest plans, drawings, ideas, circulate it around to committee members. So we've had some thoughts. I know there's been consultations and discussions done, and there will be things done in their appropriate place, but at least it gives people here a bit of extra information that you can look over and we can keep a discussion going about.
Yeah, I have looked online and I've been to the consultation meetings. The online drawings now are somewhat improved from those that were available during the public consultations. There's a bit more detail, they're better rendered, and there's been some design changes. But I think there's still room for us to do a little more.
Okay. Myra?
I just want to endorse what Jeff said. And wearing another hat, I've been involved in some meetings with the Halifax Heritage Festival people. And, I'm sure everybody involved in that would welcome more interpretation of the heritage of Halifax, because it's got an important history.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on either of those points? John?
Regarding the the restored 502 service. That's great news. I've been on it a few times, so I speak as a user, and I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one using it. Of course, once you get something, you want even more, and I have to say it's a pity it doesn't run on Sundays. But there we are. Monday to Saturday is a much improvement over getting as far as Denham and then having to wait about 55 minutes for a connection, which is how things were before. We also have restored a service between Brickhouse, Rastrick and Elland and Halifax, the 563 on Sundays, albeit only 2 hourly and during the day. But there again, that's great news, because without that, it was a matter of having to go via Halifax or via Huddersfield, which is obviously quite ridiculous. There again, it'd be good to have an evening service on that route, but be grateful for what we've got. And well, I suppose thanks to COVID, it's the silver lining that we've got a couple of services which we haven't had for quite a while. Later on in the agenda, we will be wondering about how to get passengers back on the buses, except for those buses which are already over full and riding around and not picking anybody up. But that's a different item. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Do we have any further questions on either of those? Now, I'll go to operator updates in a couple of minutes, and just as a heads up, I'll probably go to you first, Pete, from a railway perspective before I go to the bus operators. Edwin, is there anything you want to add about how things have been going from the WYCA perspective around transport with the recent restrictions before I come on to the operators?
I think if you talk to any of the bus operators or Peter or Northern, it's probably been the most challenging 6 months we've all faced collectively in terms of having to respond to the pandemic and changes in sort of customer demand, social distancing rules and how they've changed. It's really been a challenge, and we were, I suppose, hoping to move out of it and recover more in the autumn, but we've had another sort of raft of restrictions come in, so we're having to adapt to those. And I'd just like to shout out to, I suppose, to everyone in terms of the operators on the call there, in terms of the work they've done to get schools back up and running, in terms of the additional services they've had to put on, drafting in extra staff and vehicles to make those things work. And it has been a joint collective effort between ourselves, the operators, both bus and train, and also the schools working together to make that happen, along with our partners in the district too. And I'll hand over to Pete now, I think.
Yeah, it's certainly been an interesting period, to say the least. We've introduced 6 timetables this year, and we're just about putting together our December timetable. And each one has been an increase on what preceded it. 2 principal driving factors. Initially, it was very much personnel. We had a lot of people who were self-isolating or on the vulnerable list and therefore not available to work, and that forced us to put in the first timetable. Gradually, this number improved, and people came back, and so our timetables increased as a result. Coupled to that, though, there was the whole thing, what public transport was for, and certainly what the railway was for, and we were talking a lot about essential travel only and key worker timetables and things like that. That thankfully changed, and we've seen a definite altering of user or ridership, and in so much as we have no discernible morning or evening peak at the moment. There was in the summer a large number of people who were using the railway for leisure travel, which was fine and was good. We saw huge numbers going to the coast, up into the Dales. Ilkley was particularly popular too. And retail was massive, so into Bradford and into Leeds, huge numbers travelling for retail. They fell away a bit as the schools went back, but we did not see the normal uplift in ridership through people going to work. And currently we're sitting between 30 and 35% of our pre-COVID passenger numbers generally. Schools came back, annoyingly a week too early for us because our timetable changed the second week. And here I've got to offer my genuine thanks to our friends at the Combined Authority, because they let us have some buses to use as emergencies should we have crowding issues, which we did. And we used those very well for that first week. But by the second week, we were pretty much in most of West Yorkshire and pretty much on a full timetable. And so the problem abated somewhat. And when schools are travelling well, mask compliance is generally good. It's a difficult one with mask compliance because it's a law that can only be enforced by a police officer. So we can't fine people or the like, but we certainly can exclude people and have done that. And now we're well over 90% compliant, and most trains it's compliant. The fact that retail made it mandatory there certainly helped us. We saw a big upturn once that became the case. We work with local authorities now because of local lockdowns currently in this region, and we have some. Obviously West Yorkshire is certainly well mentioned, but as far as public transport goes, there are no changes, and we are not making any alterations. But of course, coupled to that, the reason for the local lockdown is an upsurge in, we're riding the crest of a second wave, so to speak, and we are seeing a train crew self-isolating, station staff self-isolating, Network Rail are seeing the same in the signal boxes and control centres. So we have to take cognizance of that and make our plans accordingly. So far, it is not adversely affecting our train service, and we will keep an eye on that and keep in contact with the Combined Authority as we move further into the winter. Finally, the last thing just quickly to say, we introduced during all of this something we call a flexible season ticket, which will be universally available across the north, but currently is being trialled in West Yorkshire. This is basically a season ticket that can be used almost like a carnet. So customers can buy get the benefit of a season ticket, but not have to travel every day of the week. And that is clearly key as we come back and out of COVID. We will no doubt see a different working pattern with many more people working from home, as I am today, and making use of technology and what have you. So this flexible season ticket will be an important product to help encourage people back to the railway once we're back to normal, which can't come soon enough. Happy to take any questions, Chair, or anything else, really.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you for that full update and for everything you've done during this time. And it's good to hear about really good partnership working and cooperation to keep things going. And that's obviously been something that in every sector people have had to do, which I think is really good. It's brought people together in different ways, and we've sort of all worked a bit differently, maybe.
Indeed.
Less, finally breaking down those silos at least.
It's an ill wind, as they say. Yes.
All right. Are there any questions for Pete and Northern? I'm going to go through the operators as we go. John?
Just a comment rather than a question. I like the new trains, and I think quite a lot of other people like them too. I hope they're working well from your point of view.
Yeah, well, they're working. Anything new has its challenges, and these have certainly had them. Actually, again, an ill wind that blows no good. We've used this period to make them more reliable and successfully too, and the rest of our fleet as well. So yes, they are popular. They are delivering what they should deliver, and they're not going anywhere soon. So that's the most important thing.
Thank you. Nice. It is nice to see them. Okay. If there's nothing else for Pete, I'm going to hand over to the guys at Arriva and Arriva Yorkshire Tiger, whoever wants to speak on your behalf. Please feel free to chime in. Sorry if I'm not.
No worries, Dan. Thank you. Hi everyone. My name is Dwayne Wells. I'm head of commercial for Yorkshire Tiger. Joined on the call today by our interim general manager Joy Devine and by our network manager Dan Windmill. As has been sort of mentioned, we've had quite a busy few months. Many successive timetable changes, as I'm sure you'll be aware. We're now back to a more familiar service level, which is good news. Patronage having returned to around about the 50% level of pre-pandemic levels. And that very much varies by service. So we've got some services that are as low as 20% of normal patronage, some as high as 80% of normal patronage. So it's quite a mixed bag. We are going to reduce the distancing. As a result of that, extra journeys to support the busiest flows that have been identified. We have seen quite a drop off in peak time demand, so the traditional commute, but demand is now back to normal levels in some cases, and particularly around the schools and the school flows. Worthy of comment, we've had a significant network change in the district this September, having won some tendered work from the combined authority. And as part of this, as Edwin and John mentioned earlier, we're proud to have launched new service 502 in partnership with the combined authority. This route links Halifax with Keighley with a direct regular service for the first time in 5 years. And I must say that in the run up to the launch of that service, we were inundated with questions and comments from the community. Really, a real positive vibe there. And very pleased to say that the service has been very popular too, and it's been well used. And John, pleasing to hear that you've used the service too. And really, that's the update for Yorkshire Tiger. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, and welcome to your colleagues who've come to join us for the meeting. As someone who spent a good amount of my time living in Ogden, I appreciate the value of that service, and it's still one I would use now, the 502. So really great to see that that's back, and it's popular as well, which might mean it's here to stay this time. Are there any questions for the team at Arriva?
Yeah, Dan, can I just ask?
Yeah, of course.
Question about ticketing. Going forward in terms of trains and buses, given the homeworking that's been done at the moment, are you also issuing sort of flexible season tickets that can work 2-3 days a week or whatever it is to accommodate people who don't want to travel 5 days a week anymore?
We are, yes. So through the ticketing company, the M card, we've got multi-operator tickets that allow you to travel multi-day. So you can buy a pack of 3 days for a discount versus buying 3 days in isolation. So you're absolutely right that it's something I think we're going to see a lot more of. So that's certainly the first one that we've launched.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
No, thanks, Councillor Caffrey. I think that is a very important question. I know they've been looking at it on the combined authority, sort of transport committee level as well. There's been discussions. Probably just bringing forward a few things that were already in the pipework in terms of new types of ticketing, which I think people are going to need on a very flexible basis. Absolutely. On that note, I'll pass over to Tom Bridge from First. If you want to give an update from your perspective, please, Tom.
Yeah, thank you. I think broadly similar to Pete and Dwayne. We, having sort of gone into the initial phase of lockdown back in March, we saw patronage grow back steadily and quite pleasingly to the point where at the end of August we were about 55%. And really we're still sort of there now, to be honest. And I guess sort of in some ways we probably feel sort of a little bit of a hiatus now, waiting to see what happens next, because obviously there's no real room at the moment to ease social distancing measures, and in some cases we are approaching the point where buses are at capacity once you allow for social distancing. In terms of impacts on our workforce, I'm proud of our workforce. I think we've all pulled together, and obviously with the combined authority and everybody else, we've been very fortunate in that we have seen very little in terms of our own members of staff getting ill or having to self-isolate. Although, well, certainly that's true in Calderdale. We are starting outside Calderdale to see a little bit of impact on our workforce from I guess the second wave in Leeds and Bradford. The one thing that this process has given us the opportunity to do, which has been quite good, is that through our ticket machine supplier Ticketer, we've managed to do a number of quite nifty things with the app, where we know exactly how many people are on a bus now at any one time. So you can actually go on the app and find out how full or empty the bus is before you try and board. So obviously that's quite helpful in the current situation. Again, we're now in a situation where actually, in terms of mileage and buses running, we're running slightly more than we were pre-COVID, because we're running quite a number of duplicate services for schools. Again, in the interests of social distancing. And again, I think as Pete said, in terms of masks, we are seeing quite a high level of compliance. And again, the decision back in July to ask people to wear masks in the retail environment helped us. But as Pete said, we haven't got the statutory power to refuse people travel if they refuse. So our drivers have faced one or two quite challenging conversations. But again, on the whole, 95% of passengers comply, and there are no issues. And I think really that's it. I mean, it's been nice. It's been nice during this period actually to sort of see people recognise that buses are an essential service, having sort of perhaps previously been regarded as the sort of poor relation. So I think that's been good. That's been good for our self-esteem, to be honest. But I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions? And if I can't see anybody on my screen, you might just have to pipe up. I'm trying to switch. No, there aren't. But thank you.
Yes,
and I agree. Oh, John, there are.
Yeah. Go
ahead.
It slightly predated the COVID situation, but it's gone on since. That the 549, which used to run through not only from Halifax to Brickhouse to Rastrick, but then on to Huddersfield, and was always a very popular service, was half hourly, but it got cut back to being hourly, which was a matter of some surprise considering how well used it seemed to be when it was half hourly. At the moment, we're in the position where it's still 1 hourly rather than half hourly. And it is coming out of Huddersfield bus station sometimes full, so that people who want to get on later on can't. Again, that's not really surprising considering that it was sometimes full with people standing, quite a few people standing, when it was half hourly. I know this is a commercial service, so it's not a matter of WYCA saying, all right, we'll put some more on, or no, we can't afford to put any more on. It's a matter of first, for reasons which escape me, having decided that it should only be half hourly.
Right, okay. I mean, I'll have to take that one away and look at it. I mean, obviously, in other situations where we've had capacity issues, particularly post-COVID, we have duplicated journeys. But I'll go away and ask the question, John, and come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions, anybody? Are there any other questions in general about the meeting? I was going to ask Ben if we obviously this has been our first one since we're back. Though a lot of us will have done a lot of virtual meetings since now. Though not often everyone's live on YouTube. If I remember, you're live on YouTube, right? So what is the ongoing format, Ben, do we have an idea of when we're going to meet again, or is that still sort of to be decided, having seen how this round of meetings has gone?
I believe the next round of meetings are scheduled in March.
Okay.
GCSEs.
All right. Okay. Jeff?
Yeah, I've found that Zoom meetings are very, very good because for acoustics in particular, and for general communication. Okay, we had some technical difficulties this time round on the startup, but the venue that we've been using in the past has, as I'm sure you know, had its difficulties with noise and with getting the sort of environment right. I personally have always found it difficult to hear accurately. Now, I can use headphones or I can use the speaker on the laptop, and for me, it makes the meetings so much more enjoyable, so much more. I get to hear everything that's said, and so I would put an appeal in to stay with this format, even if we are allowed to actually meet in person at some stage, unless you can find a really good acoustic venue in the future. But anyway, thank you, Chair.
No, thank you, Jeff. I think a few people might echo those comments and see a few smiles and thumbs up. Good to probably get together on some basis, but I think for things like this, better than dragging ourselves to a cold community centre where we can't hear each other particularly well, and definitely more accessible to the public as well. If any of them want to watch, they can just go on the PC and watch at any time, which I think makes the whole process a lot more transparent. And in the long run, we might even get to a system where members of the public feel more able to get involved in the sort of democratic process and giving their feedback on services. If it is just so much simpler for them that they can just go log on their PC rather than having to physically get somewhere, which can be a challenge for some. All right, if there's nothing else from everybody, thank you all for your patience today and for sticking with us, and it was good to see you all again. Thank you everyone who's come bringing an update. And big well done to Ben and everyone else behind the scenes who was frantically trying to get this meeting off the ground, but we did it. All right.
There is one more item on the agenda this afternoon.
My screen's gone off. Oh, there is, isn't there? The carbon reduction pathway.
Yeah,
Ben,
it's a presentation
on that.
Presentation, yeah.
All right. Oh. Right, well, we'll stay for the presentation then. Okay, someone speaking to this. It's not me.
Is Edwin here?
You did say he was having some connection issues. Edwin?
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't think I was presenting this. I thought someone else was presenting this. Ben? So, did you want me to present it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I haven't got control over the
It's all right. My colleague is sharing her screen, so if you ask her to move.
Okay. Okay. So if you want to click onto the next slide, because I think this is a pre-prepared one. So right. So I think we've gone through those things there already, haven't we? In terms of the agenda for today. This was an agenda from a previous meeting, so we've talked about various things there. So do you want to scroll on to the next slide, please? So I think this is just a slide that shows how the money that we spend on tendered bus services, where it goes. So in terms of the split or the proportion, so you can see that 20% of the spend that we have on bus services goes to sort of evening access, work and leisure journeys. Some money, 22% on Sunday services. So it was just a general breakdown in terms of where the money goes. And on the right hand side, there's an example, or there's examples where the money goes. Is this
Edwin,
a carbon?
before we go too far, I was just about to pull that up. Is this the carbon reduction pathway?
Yeah, I'm just saying. I've seen
the agenda.
I've gone through these before for a different presentation. These don't seem to be the carbon reduction ones, Ben. So I thought someone was presenting the carbon reduction slides.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to say is, as we started late, is there someone here who was due to present the carbon reduction slides? Because there isn't much point in just being put onto Edwin. It'd be better for us to have that conversation with the relevant officer when they come back, if we've got a presentation, since we already started late. So
I don't think we have got an officer here, a chair, to do that. Okay.
I'm going to suggest we postpone that item then, and we will. Yeah. It's an important item, and I think we need to make sure that we give it the time to look over. Could we send out the slides possibly to members of the committee so they can have a look and see if any questions come up? But we'll redo that. We'll redo that item when we've got the relevant person there. Okay.
Yes, certainly. I'll circulate the slides, and if people have questions, please feel free to get in touch, and we'll get the appropriate officer to respond to you. And if necessary, we can put a session in.
Okay, great. So to round up, we're going to have stuff going out on the bus station, stuff going out on the carbon reduction pathways. John?
I was afraid you were about to close the meeting there, Dan, and there's something that quite a few people have been asking me to raise, which I already wrote to WYCA about, which is the lack at the moment of timetables at bus stops, in shelters, at bus stations. There are posters. In fact, I think it's the second round of posters telling us where we can phone or how we can do it through our mobile phones. But of course, a lot of people don't have mobile phones or don't have little computers they carry around with them. So at the moment, they're completely stuck unless they're at one of the real-time displays, and most stops still don't have real-time displays. So the sooner we can get printed timetables back up at bus stops, shelters and bus stations, the better. I know there's been a problem, services changing frequently. I guess they're calming down now, so I hope it won't be very long. As I say, a lot of people have asked me to raise that. It's not something I moan.
Thank you, John. I'm going to go to Edwin about this. Funnily enough, this is one of the things we had a bit of a discussion about before the meeting, because we thought it would be a topic of interest. So, Edwin, do you want to respond?
I suppose I need to go back, I suppose, to the beginning when we sort of locked down the sort of transport networks and came down to essential travel and key worker networks. We had multiple changes made by the bus operators, probably more changes in a period of a few months than they would make in probably 4 or 5 years, and lots of changes, constantly adapting and changing the network. So we knew that our sort of roadside information was out of date. So we've moved to those generic sort of timetable inserts, because for the last 4 or 5 months we haven't had the right information in bus stop displays. We're hoping to go back and put out timetable information in the bus stops again, and we're looking to do that starting from the end of October. But we just, there's a word, I suppose, a caveat in that, in terms of we're not sure how restrictions may affect us, so there might be further changes needed to the network. We don't want to put information out there that is incorrect. We want to make sure that we've got the right information out there and that we do it in the right way. We have directed people to our website because we want to ensure that our website is made up to date and maintained in the right way. And we've put great efforts into getting our real-time systems and information up to date too. The challenge is making sure that what we publish is correct. And we want to do that. And we do know that we need to get timetables out there. And the operators also want to have the right information for their customers too. So it is a collaborative effort between ourselves and the operators to get the information right and make sure that once it's up there, it has a shelf life in terms of it's not going to change a few weeks down the line. You're probably not aware of the changes that there have been to the registration periods for bus services. So traditionally, there would be about 70 days when you have to make a change. We have certain change dates where we like to make changes. We can coordinate everything. But with the pandemic, those restrictions have been eased. So the bus operators are more flexible in how they can adapt and respond to changes in demand and service needs. So it's something we're aware of. We know it's not as we'd like it to be, and we're looking to improve it. And hopefully from the end of October, we'll start to roll out timetable displays again. Happy to take questions, Chair.
Anybody else got a question or anything further? It's a bit of a work in progress as the timetabling. I understand the issue, always been an issue, but even more of an issue at the moment than it ever has been. Jeff?
Yeah. I'm just going to ask a question. It's sort of related to timetable, but also related to identity. Do all bus stops have names?
I think I might have to ask Tom or Dwayne on this in terms of if they all have names. I know they've all got unique identifiers in terms of numbers, but I'm not sure if all bus stops are actually named. Dwayne, Dwayne, can you come in on this one in terms of your work on that in terms of the network navigation?
I can, yeah. So you're right that each pair of bus stops does have a name, and we do try and make that name unique. It's not something that we that we've achieved in all cases. For instance, numerous post offices around the district, but yeah, we do try and have a either the closest side street name or a building which has been known by that name for a number of years, for instance. So yes, they do.
And is that on the bus? Is that on sort of on the actual bus infrastructure itself? Is it on the post or the shelter or somewhere?
Where a stop would have a timetable display, it'd be on the timetable or on the top of the shelter. Or if you're looking for the name of the stop, Google Maps, click the name of the stop, and it'll tell you what the name is designated to be.
The reason I'm asking is, if we're trying to get modal shift at some stage, we've got to encourage people who don't customarily use the bus network to feel comfortable with it, and therefore arriving at a destination that you don't automatically recognize, having a sign for the name of the stop, which you can read from the bus, would be a distinct advantage. If you pull up and the name of the stop corresponds to the line of the windows, so that you can actually see out and you can see where you are, and so that sort of security and that sort of reinforcement of location would be very helpful, I think, to over time to improve the numbers switching from cars back to buses. Does that sort of chime with anybody else, or is it just me?
I didn't know if I could ask Dwayne to come in again to just talk a bit more about the network navigation and how we're looking to provide better infrastructure and customer information, because Dwayne's been more involved in that project than me. Okay. But customer information and how we promote bus services and public transport is really important. And once we do sort of move out of this stage of travel restrictions and move into more of a recovery, we will be looking to promote sort of travel on public transport again. At the moment, it's very difficult to do that for us, the capacity constraint. But Wayne, sorry to trouble you, but if you could sort of explain a little bit more about the network navigation piece that we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Edwin says, this is a piece of work that we're largely undertaking behind the scenes, and it's exactly for the reasons that Edwin's outlined there, to try and encourage use of the bus network. We started with corridors out of Leeds, and we're going through those, looking at stop names, looking to see whether that makes sense in for customers, and also how that can be best reflected on the infrastructure, so the stops and the shelters. And as part of the Transforming Cities package, we're looking to roll that out across West Yorkshire. Yes, but it is certainly something that I agree with the comments made. Wayfinding is very important, and this certainly for the core network, I think, would be a good initiative. Much more on that to follow.
Is there anything that could be shared with the rest of the members of this subcommittee? Just where you're up to in terms of progress, what your proposals are, what they look like, literally, so that we can get some comfort and feel that we kind of know what direction you're taking. Otherwise, if you come up with a strategy and then implement it, the first we will know is when we see something in situ.
Absolutely, Jeff. So yeah, you're right. The West Yorkshire Transport Committee was presented a paper which detailed exactly how this will look and feel, relevant to the Leeds core network, because that's obviously where our starting point. But once we get the principles of that right, yes, absolutely, that will be the model that will roll out across West Yorkshire. So it's in the public domain. So if you have a look at the Transport Committee papers, it's within there.
Okay.
I'm sure that we can get that circulated to you as part of this group as well, so for you to have a look.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, Ben, could we make sure that is circulated to this group?
Yes, I will do.
Thanks, Ben.
I think what's important is making sure that when it comes to Calderdale, that we have some sort of a Calderdale input, and I'm sure Jeff will have loads of ideas about how we could make this Calderdale specific and unique, and that might be really quite valuable. So which will probably be less of our input into the strategic level stuff of the plans you're doing, but it's more how would we tweak it to make it really quite specific to the areas that we all live in.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I am going to close the meeting off there. Thank you all for coming. I'm sure I'll see some of you before the next meeting, but I'll see you all at the next meeting in March. Presumably using this format, I'm taking a strong sort of feeling in the wind that that's what people would prefer, and I'm sure by March people might still be feeling the same. Edwin, I'll just come to you.
Yeah, there's just a question in the text from Richard Isaac to everyone, and the question is, do we have reps from the youth board from the college invited to this meeting?
No, we don't. But we've done rounds of trying to get people on the board. We'd often struggled with getting younger people to attend these meetings, and sometimes the timings were difficult. It's something we could definitely look at again. If anybody has any links as well, either with the college or the youth council that they want to promote, I can certainly pass the word on into the youth council about whether they'd have any representatives. But the key is getting young people to want to come and have a role. So I think if we had individual young people as well who wanted to, who had a keen interest and wanted to sort of put their names forward, that's something we could look at too. Okay, I'm going to call it there then. I think I've said that a few times. I will for sure this time. All right. See you later.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Okay.
So